Hey, what's good, family? Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. I'm the man here that does all the work, tries to share all these unique perspectives. Maybe not so unique. I'm gonna get into some bite down boxing talk, little entertainment stuff to open up with. Got dragged out again to a new movie, Gemini Man. Not gonna give many spoilers. Not sure there's many spoilers to give, but it stars Will Smith and Will Smith. Clive Owens, one of my favorite, foreign actors, and I can't remember the female's name. It was directed by Ang Lee, which is always a plus. I didn't have a lot of expectations going into this one. It doesn't do much new in terms of espionage movies, operators, paramilitary, rogue paramilitary outfits, jet setting, traveling across, to a couple of different locales, Russians, double crossing and so on and so forth. Guns, high powered assault rifles and scopes and all of that type of stuff. Very Call of Duty-ish modern warfare in a way. Urban warfare and whatnot. But if you've seen the commercial and the trailers, Will Smith is an older operative, taking out high value assets and whatnot. I think through a government agency, I believe, of some kind. He's out doing wet work. He's a sniper. And then as he's either being phased out or he wants to leave the game, it's almost like a hustler in the streets. Faces the same situation. Has he done too much to walk away cleanly? So if you've seen the trailer, you see that there's a conflict between him and an individual who looks like him or who is him that's younger. And so you can kind of put two and two together and see where this thing is going. That's the gist of it. Getting down to the details, it moves well. It starts pretty quickly. It moves pretty quickly. Keeps your attention. I don't know if they call this a popcorn movie or whatever, but it's not bad. None of the script is, except for the fact that he's probably, however you want to deal with the fact of how this younger version of himself came to be. There's a female that's involved that gets dragged into this thing. He has a limited amount of resources and relationships people that he can trust and people that can help him out. And then, without, that these two are fighting each other in the trailer. So somehow or another throughout the course of the movie, they have to deal with one another. That has to be resolved. And you could probably guess how that happens. Moving from there, obviously, just like Jason Bourne and whatnot, he has to deal with who put this person, this individual, who set them as a target for that person, and he probably has to deal with that person. All of this gets set up very early. Like I said, he's on the run. Of course, he has to call on some old relationships, some old pals in the gang, to try to survive and figure this thing out. And that's kind of, the gist of the movie. Getting towards the end of it, like I said, without spoiling anything, it kind of wraps up in a simple, resolution. And like I said, man, it's pretty solid. I think it's a good return to two solid movies, for Will Smith. I don't know about that After Earth and some other couple other projects that he's been involved in. But I think it's a return to, you know, his movies being well received and liked. And, you know, I will watch it again once it hits, you know, cable. Check it out if, you know, we checked it out on that $5 family night or whatever. So, you know, didn't have a whole lot of skin in the game, and it was pretty solid. Moving on, shout out to the Washington Nationals. They take game one. I didn't even, because I was at the movies unexpectedly last night, I was trying to see Ad Astra for the second time. But I didn't get to see, it was either, it was either, you know, the NBA season has started. I'm a Pistons fan, and, you know, it's not much to look forward to. And I really didn't sit here and feel like, you know, celebrating all of the revamped Lakers roster, all the depth on the Clippers, their two new bigs or elites. You know, I take that stuff kind of personal, man. So I really didn't tune in. I'll check in with some of that. I saw Stephen A. charged up, you know, about the Lakers needing to, I mean, it's game one, and they're an older team. And, you know, in a few weeks, the Lakers will probably be a top 2, top 3 seeded team. And, you know, they'll hit their stride. So just because one thing that takes a hit was the injury the meniscus injury with the kid, with Zion. I think it doesn't bode well for the kid. But, you know, that was the other game that was on, was the Raptors versus the Raptors versus the Pelicans, which they needed triple overtime to, you know, to beat them without Zion. But anyway, let's get into this box, and I'll try to keep this relatively short. Saturday, if I could back up just for a quick second, man, the World Boxing Super Series, for all of the flack that it takes, you know, by the time the fights actually happen, especially, you know, those deciding the Ali Trophy winners, by the time that rolls around, we're all kind of clapping for it and celebrating, you know, what it is and what it achieves with getting the best to fight the best, provided that the best get into the 8-man, you know, into the quarterfinals. The first, if the field is solid, then we'll get that best fights the best. So I'm glad that I see more and more talk and anticipation continue to swell for Saturday's Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis fight. I do think that's a fantastic matchup on paper, and I'm looking forward to that one. Now, getting to the biggest fight in the U.S. with Shakur Stevenson and Joet Gonzalez fighting for the vacant WBO featherweight title in Reno. It's a deep card, man. Like I said, Joshua Greer Jr., he came on the Saturday morning show a couple of weeks back and kind of talked through it. His opponent, Antonio Nieves, out of Cleveland, Ohio. Do check out the article, give you some background on all of this stuff in the start times on BiteDownBoxing.com. But he's taking on Antonio Nieves with a lot of different implications in that one. Especially him coming out of a shaky victory, majority decision, I think, victory against Nikolai Potapov, a former opponent of Antonio Nieves. Nieves also fought Inoue, who will be in the bantamweight finale of the World Boxing Super Series against Nonito Donaire in a couple of weeks. So you see that all the dots to kind of connect there. Inoue is rumored to be coming over to Top Rank once he's done with his obligations to the World Boxing Super Series. Albert Bell out of Toledo, Ohio. I believe he's a super featherweight, I think. Super featherweight. He's facing like the toughest competition after just facing the toughest competition of his career in Frank D'Alba. the debut for Xander Zayas, I believe, is this kid out of Puerto Rico, the 17-year-old, whatever, the youngest to ever sign, with the promoter. 5'10", what is he right now? Super lightweight, I believe. A lot of had a chance to do something with the Olympics, but couldn't get in with the age requirements and stuff, so he opted to go pro. His debut, the debut of Toledo, Ohio heavyweight Jared Anderson, Michaela Mayer, I thought it was one other person. Andy Vincez is bouncing back from the loss to Albert Bell against some cat named Barnwald or something. So tons of depth on this ESPN Plus card. Tons of depth on there. They'll probably break it up into 2 different streams, and they'll switch off from Christina Poncher and maybe Chris Algieri to go into the main event action with Andre Ward on the call, Tim Bradley, Joe Tessitore, so on and so forth. Still, I have not seen much promotion for this thing. And if I can borrow a phrase from The Wire, it seems like a smoker. It seems like a pretty good card. Keep in mind, super featherweight Tyler McCreary fell off of this card because he's going to fight former world champion Carl Frampton here in a few weeks. I think at the end of November. So this card, and it was definitely Ohio rich. Definitely Ohio rich. So Shakur and Joet. I have not seen a whole lot of Joet. He was on his last time out. He defeated a former world challenger in Manuel Avila. Stopped him in the 6th round. I think Joet he's gonna acquit himself nicely. Give a good account of himself. Present some challenges for Shakur, who many now project to be, a multi-division, type of champion, and has all the skills, quickness. He shows some power, and recently in the last 3 or 4 fights, he can adjust. He can take the lead. Can counterpunch a little bit. Very intelligent, very educated offense. Quickness, good footwork. He checks a lot of boxes. It just matters, what Gonzalez can do. Gonzalez is, I think, 4 years older, 4 or 5 years older. He's an accomplished amateur himself. Almost was like an Olympic alternate or something. So he has, a good amateur pedigree. Like I said, he's coming off and I think he's got a lot of knockouts, maybe 8 knockouts in his last 9 fights or 8 stoppages in his last 9 fights. He's hungry. I was, like I said, I was a little down in the fact that Shakur's first championship bout isn't against a reigning champion. It's a little bit of a downer for a kid who's a silver medalist, Olympian himself. It kind of takes away from the luster just a little bit, but if you had to get a backup, if there had to be an alternative, I think Gonzalez is a solid, is a solid test. He could go in here and get destroyed, I guess. But there's the relationship between Joet's sister and Shakur from the days in USA boxing, I believe, is where that started. But like I said, man, I have to think very big picture here in terms of looking at my winner and breaking this one down. Because like I said, I did not get to see the Avila fight. And I haven't seen much of Gonzalez. I think I saw some highlights and whatnot. But he can handle himself in the ring. And then on the other hand, the victory over Christopher Diaz for Shakur gives us a lot of a lot of confidence, and he's mature enough to take this thing and see it through, and possibly get his hand raised. And maybe we have a new star, who crosses that finish line in terms of becoming a world champion. So very excited about that fight. I also want to see what what Joshua Greer, Don't Blink, Mr. ESPN, does in a match against Nieves. Nieves went 6 rounds. I think his corner called off the fight after the 6th round against the monster Naoya Inoue. And like I said, we need to see, he needs to, I think Greer needs a dominant performance where he clearly shows some levels between him and his opponent, to give us, to foreshadow, what he could possibly get done at the next level, in a world championship match. Because make no doubt about it, man. The champions at bantamweight are some bad dudes. Ubali, I don't know much about him. I've seen him 1 or 2 fights, and I know him. But that's a stiff test right there. Like I said, Naoya Inoue is a top 3, top 5, definitely pound for pound guy, one of the biggest punchers in all of boxing. Luis Neri is out there, a heavy-handed guy, little guy. It's no walk in the park. So, and then I want to see what Albert Bell does. So, like I said, obviously with all of these Ohio cats on there, regional interest, rooting interest for myself. But enjoy it. Like I said, the article is out there with all of the action. We have 3 cards this weekend. Like I said, the DAZN and the Plus cards have the World Championship, to make them bigger than what's going on Showtime. But good to see Showtime back. And it sounds like, Bernstein, it might be Bernstein and the big boys on the telecast, which we haven't seen them in a while. So, look, let me get on off of here, man. Sorry to run a little long, throwing that Gemini Man recap in there, review in there. Hey, man, pay me no mind. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Bite down, boxing. Don't let them count you out.